It's Hughezy hello, and especially a big hello to Chris Jericho because I know you're watching or listening, and also a big hello to Zion Z. I heard that clip that's going around the view. What's all that about? Plugs. Don't forget that the show is a Patreon, which has a lot of exclusive content up there early, uncut, uncensored, even unedited. If you go there right now, you'll find the full and complete interview I did with Joe Matarese. You hear the edited version here today. It's about 10 minutes longer on Patreon. You'll also get the uncut Perez Hilton interview, and also you will get the interviews coming from future episodes, such as Jackie Martlin will be up there, Anthony Cumia, Opie, Jim Brewer, Killer Cross, Brian Cage, all up there on Patreon waiting to be downloaded. And the money will go to help supporting the podcast. Don't forget also the Creative Control Network has a whole bunch of other shows for you to watch. And by watch, I meant listen to, such as Wrestling with Reality by John Mangland, who just did an excellent episode with Vince Russo. We've got Oh Water Rush by Animal. We've got David Radigan there, who seems to be interviewing episodes of TV shows. That's an inside joke. And of course, the main man, Joe Feeney's podcast himself, Creative Control, which is soon to have an interview with the legendary Raven. That one will be excellent. Also, don't forget to check out the official Keeping It 100 YouTube page. That's Conan Disco Inferno's YouTube page, where there is classic and new content being uploaded there as often as possible. And that is a perfect way for you to interact with Disco and Conan because they read the comments. And of course, don't forget to look us up on Instagram and Twitter. It's at the Hughezy on both of them. But if you say anything dumb, don't expect me not to reply back with a smart answer because that's the kind of thing that I do. Okay, the plugs are over. But today we've got a big one. We've got 3 guests on. We've got Joe Feeney coming back, the main man himself. We've got Joe Matarese coming on, and then we've got Perez Hilton coming on. But up first, we got Joe Feeney on. We're going to debate the top 5 Guns N' Roses. This one's for you, Chris Jericho. Hello. Joe, hello. So, hey, Joe Feeney, thank you for coming back on today, and we're going to debate top 5 Guns N' Roses.
Absolutely, and anytime I have a chance to talk. The Guns N' Roses song, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. And I remember it was Mr. Brownstone, and like whatever, second verse in, he says, combinations like ever, because that just what was going on. I even remember there was a rumor back in the day that it was going to be Guns N' Roses and their singer was going to be a guy named Spike. Slash was going to replace Axl with Spike. And I don't remember who that was or whatever happened to him, but I remember hearing that rumor. The Snake Pit came along and then Axl's new band and all that. But I think I started paying even more attention the more reclusive he got and the more that the Chinese Democracy album got like the but then he came back and like GNR did for the past 2 years, you know.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses still know how to rock the rock.
They do, absolutely.
But
I can't see these websites that are like, "Hey, Axl's new song, you gotta listen." Dude, it's a
so been writing that song for.
yeah, well, knowing him,
Yeah,
1993.
Yeah, but for me with Guns N' Roses, I mean, I always liked. I mean, I knew stuff like "Sweet Child of Mine," "Paradise City," "November Rain," but then and around like 99, 2000, I really started getting into like album collections.
Yeah.
So I got this box set. It was Appetite for Destruction, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and Lies, for like 10, 15 pounds. So I thought, CD changer, and I'm just like, holy shit.
Paradise City, they like Welcome to the Jungle, Night Train. They have half their songs are partying, and half their songs are miserable depression and heartache.
Because a lot of the Chinese Democracy songs that they played sounded finished and sounded great to me. And then the rumor had come out, oh, the album is definitely coming out in 2001, without a doubt. And then it didn't. And then that MTV Music Awards appearance happened. And then there was another tour that just seemed to be a I just stopped giving it.
The VMAs, I was such a blinded fan that happened, and I was super excited. And they years later, I rewatch it and I see what people saw, where he ran out of breath and all this. Was really extra super broken because my hero didn't show up. And then I remember getting out of the car on the way we got home. I walked out and immediately slipped on a patch of ice and landed on my back and just laid there. People were like, "You coming into the party, Fiend?" I'm like, just leave me alone for a while. But yeah, so I was a glutton for punishment. But then when they came back in 2006, I went out of my way to get tickets. I got to see them in Hammerstein, the first comeback of that comeback show, and they played like 6 songs from Chinese Democracy. And again, you're like, okay, this is the comeback, and it still wasn't, Then
And he goes out a lot, so how does he avoid the paparazzi?
He always said, you'd hear interviews where people would ask him about that, and he'd be like, when you're in LA, you know where to go to be seen. Like if you want your picture taken, you want to be on TMZ, you know where the clubs are, where they're going to be. But if you go to these places where the paparazzi never are, they're never going to see you, So, and certain celebrities and stuff, they will, like their agents will tip off TMZ like, hey.
But the thing with Guns N' Roses is I've really started to fall back in love with them, and not just because of Rock the Rock being so great.
Yeah.
But all this talk about new stuff, and that's what I want, because I don't want this rumored Use Your Illusion anniversary tour, because they pretty much played all of that on the Not in This Lifetime tour. So I want a new album, and we need it, or else they need to go away.
Yeah, I think it's so complicated with those guys and their relationships, and who knows with the agreements and stuff. But there's a ton of work done that never came out that was going to be Chinese Democracy 2 or even 3. It's done. It just has the old guys on it. That album supposedly was going to come out in 2014, but then DJ Ashba left and Bumblefoot left prior to that, and so the band he needed replacements, and Tommy Stinson then left, who was the bass player. So that's how the reunion kind of kicked in. Those guys left, but Axl had a finished product, supposedly, that was going to come out in 2014. It didn't work out, and then that's when the reunion wheels kind of started turning.
I don't even really believe that rumor, because it's like, so Axl was going to bring out a finished album 8 years after the... Said, oh, well, the album's coming out soon, it's just in the mix. It's like, no, it's...
saying that. Farewell tour, we don't know, but all they have to do is put a song out on a soundtrack and a 10-song, download, since there isn't really...
But it's the thing, it's with Axl, it's because his influence is confusion, because he loves AC/DC, which is like straight up rock and roll, but then he also loves Queen, which is really, really layered, operatic, artistic.
So, I mean, and that's kind of where their problems came in musically too, because Slash wanted to be AC/DC and Axl wanted to be... Coma, which was Slash's, baby, basically. So they were working together on, each other's songs. Yeah.
Like for them, that's gotta be boring, and for the I should never know when I can go for a piss during a gig.
Yeah, I knew it well. With the last time I saw them in Philly the fall of 2017, I knew it would be, Okay, I'm going to take a break. Hey, Slash is going to do The Godfather, by the way. Enjoy, but I'll be back in like 10 minutes, so...
Tell me this, though. If obviously everyone talks about Appetite for Destruction being one of the greatest albums ever, but do you think that had they put out the highlights of Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 as one album, that would have actually been better than Appetite for Destruction?
I don't know if it would have been better or if people would have recognized it as better, but I think it would have been right on that level, and yeah, the hardcore fans do that as well. You try to make one track list between the two albums and, break it down to 13, 14, 15 songs. And it really would have been incredible if you cut out some of the...
It's just Axl Rose. Well, it's kind of the story about why I don't like tattoos.
Yeah, all right.
So back when because as I say, I only really knew the 3 big singles by Guns N' Roses, but then I'm hearing all 3 albums plus GNR Lies at once, and I'm like, they're blowing my mind, and it's like, what an amazing band, what the greatest band ever. I want to be like them. And you're looking at the footage and you're hearing all these stories about Axl Rose being like this. I was like 13 or whatever at the time, and I went to this tattoo place, and they said, how much is it going to cost me to get all these tattoos? And they said, well, all together that's going to be like £230, and that would be like me saying, get me £500,000 today.
Right.
Like I was still on like a pocket money. For that whole 3 months was Guns N' Roses pretty much exclusively. And then literally the day of me going down to get the tattoos, and I've got the money, and I'm listening to them on my disc, man. And I'm starting to realize, then you're reading up stuff about Axel being like a top 5 debate, and we're going to do a top 5 best of today. So, Joe, why don't you start us off by letting us know that what is your number 5 Guns N' Roses song of all time?
Well, much like when we did the Doors list, there might be some, some people might expect to hear like a November Rain or. And it's off Use Your Illusion 1, and it's called Don't Damn Me. Off Use Your Illusion 1, and it's. Every word was his, and it was. And it probably doesn't get heard that much, but that would be 5 on my list. And a short story about it is, I was at a wrestling show, a company called 3PW, and this tag team came out to Don't Damn Me by Guns N' Roses, and I was like, who the f***? Good song, there's no way.
I'd love to know what that version of Corey Graves would think of the version we have today with his bleach blonde hair and his. Well, for my number 5, I'm going to go with a song off an album that we just mentioned, and it's a Chinese Democracy song. It's called Better.
Right.
And this is the only song off Chinese Democracy that I would call great. Not that the album was bad, but this song, it just. Sweet Child of Mine type song where it's like it's a love song, but it's a rock song, and then of course there's that bit when Axl actually stops singing and you get to hear the band just all start playing this like really hard riff together.
Yeah,
this is to me. I don't know. I can't remember. No, is this the open Chinese Democracy? But to me, this is what I'd like new Guns N' Roses stuff to sound more like.
I think their biggest mistake when it finally came out was that they made Chinese Democracy the first single, and they didn't cut anything. So the first Guns N' Roses single had like a 1:30 intro with all that. Second single was better, but by the time that came out, people had already kind of given up. But I think it gets a good reaction at shows now, and it's cool that they still play it because it's one of my favorites also.
And the thing that made no sense for Chinese Democracy is that when the singles came out, they didn't promote them.
Nope.
And then they seemed shocked that the album didn't make back all the money that they spent on it. And it's like, well, that's because you didn't promote it.
You mentioned Wikipedia. It's like you look up Chinese Democracy, and it says single number 3 was Street of Dreams. And I'm like, seen that bootleg Better video, but I mean, useless. It was never released.
Although the great thing about that Better video is that if anybody wants to check it out, you get to see footage of Lars Ulrich completely blackout drunk out of his mind being carried to a car.
Yeah. And you see like not only did fans miss the guy Axel when he was gone, but there's a clip in the video where Lars gives him like this big.
At number 4, I'm gonna go with the song. You actually mentioned it earlier on. Estranged.
Yeah.
This one. See, there's always like the big debate. It's do you like Estranged or do you like November Rain? But the thing about November Rain to me, while it's not bad, I hate that music video, and I hate music videos generally.
Yeah.
But this song, while the video stinks,
Yeah.
like that scene of Slash playing. This is because I don't always like long songs, and then Guns really did get into bad habit of that come Use Your Illusion. But this song is just so epic, and it's just seemingly underappreciated, I feel.
Yeah, and I mean that song, you'll hear it from me again, but that like encapsulates like 12-year-old me. It's got like the you have your crushes when you're 12, you get some heartbreak. There's a little teenage depression in there, and you hear that song, and it's like, I don't know, it was perfect for me when I was 12 years old, and since you'll hear it again, I haven't grown up that much. But the video, I think, was a big. People love the song now. You hear it in concert, people. You see Smells Like Teen Spirit or Alive from Pearl Jam, and then you see Axl riding a dolphin and jumping off of.
You know, this video really exposed how much Axl Rose had changed as a person. Because, like, if you look at the Welcome to the Jungle video, and he's literally some hick boy getting off a bus with hay in his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. That and then I think another thing around the time period that hurt them a lot was the. And it wasn't what people wanted from Guns N' Roses. I think today you're good. You got 2 guitar players, a bass player, a drummer, two keyboard players, but at least there's a chick up there. But that was overkill back then.
And the fact as well that they brought that on during that co-headlining tour with Metallica, and you don't go to Axl, are you demented? Like the Metallica at the time were like one of the manliest, heaviest bands ever, a proper metal band, and now you're coming out to sing.
You could list them. Even we talked about the VMAs when he came back with the. Everyone dressed like this now. You got. I mean, you saw it parodied on Saturday Night Live and all that. Yeah.
Speaking of ridiculous, what have you got in there at number 3?
3, we're going to Appetite for Destruction and Rocket Queen, which what a closer. And it really summed up how the band could go from like of outro and coda, if you will. And I one of my favorites.
It didn't change tempo during the middle because I loved the first half more than the second half, but the Rocket Queen's one of the highlights of Appetite for Destruction.
My problem with it now is they use it to allow Axl to. let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. And for me to want them to speed it up and end Rocket Queen, I mean,
He extended from 3 minutes to over 20.
yeah.
And he starts singing covers in it, and he starts talking to the crowd, and like, oh, we're gonna come back here, and we're gonna. It's like, would you just? Well, at number 3, I'm gonna have to go with. It's a Guns N' Roses. Of course, it's a Guns N' Roses song, but it's a Use Your Illusion song that I don't think they've ever played live. Garden of Eden.
If they did, it was probably just a couple of times when it was a music video, but definitely not. It's never been a regular cut for sure.
Yeah, but that's the thing about this song is I don't know how they actually recorded it, because despite having the lyric sheet, it actually sounds at times like Axl just going, I really wanted you to be, you know. But I
Yeah, and I think that was a reaction to I think that was them trying to say, hey, we're not. Especially because I don't think I play it that often, so when it hits on my phone, it's like, oh.
Well, why did they make the video for it and like sort of promote the song if they were never going to play it live? That's something that happens to a lot of bands. Happens with the Oasis a lot, where they would put out singles to promote an album and then never play that single live. It's like, we'll just put out something else.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of that. That was one. You don't hear, like, The Garden had a music video. Dead Horse had a music video. And I don't think they played either of those too often either. They certainly didn't come back for this tour. Number 2, I also put Better on my list. Johnny's Democracy, like I said, should have been the lead single. I remember hearing the leaks, and I was like a. Even though I had heard Madagascar or the Blues or, scaled down version at Rio, and Silkworms was kind of a pile of shit. Know it. Like, I have friends that, I take them to a couple of the shows, and they'll play Better. My friend will look around and go, "Why doesn't anybody know this?" Like,
but that's one of the great things, though. I should say probably the best thing to come out of that reunion tour is that it did make a lot of people, a lot of haters and doubters, sort of look back and go, that Chinese Democracy album, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the reunion tour highlights, in at number 2, I'm going with Civil War.
Yes.
And I don't know if Civil War was on. I can't remember if it was on the Live Era album.
No.
It was. Not in This Lifetime tour has to be it.
Should be. They record it.
And ironically, just to sort of tag back to our wrestling background, is that what made me realize about this song is that because I didn't know that sample at the start was the sample.
Right.
I don't watch like a lot of westerns. It was Nitro or SmackDown, and it was Roddy Piper cutting the promo, and he was arguing with someone, and he goes, what we have here is a failure to communicate. And I was like, that's from going to what? And he didn't say, and now it's time to rock the rock.
Yeah. I remember being at an Impact pay-per-view once. Speaking of Guns N' Roses. We're in the jungle, baby, and you're gonna die. And I was like,
And it's that would say, "Peace and ass forever."
Yeah.
I remember that part at the Slane Castle gig, and if anyone doesn't know, Slane Castle, it was 85,000 people, and when they did that bit, the whole
the people around you, yeah,
the whole place said, "Peace and ass forever," which is ironic because Duff, when he was on Jericho's podcast and he was talking about Slane, this was the week after the Muslims killed all those kids in Manchester, England.
Was it stabbings?
No, the bombing off the Ariana Grande concert.
Oh yeah, okay, I got you. Yep.
So, and Duff said that what they actually had done is they spent a lot of money, and they had hired a sniper squad who was basically patrolling the whole audience the whole time.
Oh, that's pretty wow.
Because if a bomb went off there, it would have killed tens of thousands.
Yeah, I remember seeing video clips from that gig. It just very, very cool.
Been pinching their helmets too. What is the number one Joe Feeney Guns N' Roses song of all time?
Estranged. Got to go with Estranged. Like I said, it's just it hit me at a certain age, and I think that's the quality of a really great song. And actually, I'll So I think when a certain song, holds that kind of importance to you from a certain event or time in your life, that's when it's just a timeless song to you. And that's how Estranged was to me. It meant so much to me when I was young, and I never really let go of it. And so I still listen to it a lot, and pretty much, thought it was tremendous when they brought it back to the live set, because for a while it wasn't there. They did it eventually with the Bumblefoot version, and they still do it. So glad to see it's still kicking.
Yeah, I love it, and it's one of those, and it's weirdly there's very little Axl Rose singing in it. Like there's long gaps if it's just the piano and the guitar and all, and but this is one of these long songs I could listen to it on a loop. Well, not on a loop, but I could listen to it a couple of times a day. That's what I meant to say. Speaking of opinions, we've come to my all-time number one favorite Guns N' Roses song, Coma. See, I'm a big Pink Floyd fan, not in that way, but this to me, this is the closest thing to a Pink Floyd song, not done by Pink Floyd. It's just it's so layered, and if you listen to this on headphones, if just say you happen to be on a night out of more than drinking, this will melt your mind away with all the layers of stuff, and then Axl's rapping in that whole last like non-stop singing sort of thing for like 2 minutes continuous. Because that's the thing about Axl, which makes him a lot different than a lot of singers, that his voice is like another instrument.
Yeah, definitely, especially when he does the multi-layered vocals, can make things very interesting. But yeah, I have a friend that I've seen some good and I've seen some really bad, but it's still cool to see. And for me, as a hardcore fan, it's cool to hear that first boom, 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 and see around me who goes, oh,
So when they would hear like 40,000 people freaked.
In the middle, it's usually right in the middle of the set list, in front of what you have to consider is 60% casuals, maybe more, and just plunk that right in the middle, like. Wichita lineman. But yeah, Comb is tremendous, and since I've been talking about lyrically, you're absolutely right. Like that last stretch, it's. They listened to Guns N' Roses for the first time. They listened to Dark Side of the Moon for the first time. So one of their clips, they listened to Coma, and they.
That would be my favorite Guns N' Roses song. Listened to by my least favorite race.
Are you gonna leave that in?
We'll see.
For me, when I had seen them, I think, like I said, 3 or 4 times on the reunion tour. Actually, the first one in Philadelphia, first shot at seeing them on the reunion, and we all got kicked out. Okay, and first off, it's a Guns N' Roses concert. We got kicked out because my friend had the audacity to light a joint and pass it around and pass it to some of the people behind us. They all got thrown out too. But what the security didn't see was a little key bump skis that were going on just prior to that. So my friend was getting kicked out, and I was like, didn't you? He's like, I didn't even fight it. Probably don't want to get caught with that.
Well,
but as far as the covers, like, if that's all they're going to add to the sets, at least it's something new. Like, I made a joke about Wichita lineman, but when they started playing it at one of those later shows, I was like, something different. A whole lot of Rosie. Oh, okay, something a little different. It's unfortunate that it has to be covers, though.
Well, speaking of something different, I'm hoping that we do get something different because Axl himself has confirmed that the Guns N' Roses aren't gone, and they will be back. Not this year, but I'm pretty much expecting an announcement towards the end of this year for their 2020 plans. That's what I meant to say. I'll end on this. If hearing those 2 black guys review Coma and they loved it, I want to hear those 2 black guys review 1 in a Million.
Oh boy, I thought that doesn't exist anymore, right?
It does in our hearts. Okay, thank you, Feeney. And from one Joe to another, up next is Joe Matarese, Porcelain's favorite comedian. Here we talk about Porcelain's documentaries. We talk about Louis C.K., Kevin Hart. We talk about snowflakes. Don't like snowflakes. Now, if you check out the Patreon version of this, you'll get to hear the full version with all the technical difficulties, shall we say. If you go on Patreon, you know what I'm talking about. Joe Matarese, hello. So, hey, Joe Matarese, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And I know that we're all new best friends, but hey, this is what friends do.
Should I call you Hughezy?
That or Hughezy or Dr. Hughes, whatever seems, more realistic.
I'll call you Hughezy. Hey, Hughezy.
Up, Joe.
All right, let me get in a comfortable, uncomfortable spot, but closest to my Wi-Fi. Here we go. It's gonna look like a romantic podcast. I'm on the floor, kind of here. All right, there. Incredible background.
Looks like a boy band video from the 90s.
I was just painting downstairs, but I'm good.
What, like a mural or a...
No, I painted this little where you walk into my house, and I got a little pissed because my wife put this metal thing down to hold umbrellas in the area, and it got wet and rusted, and put a big rust ring on the newly painted area that I did. So I washed the newly painted area with like some cleaner, and it took the paint off. So I have to touch it all back up again.
I'm glad I never get into like painting or anything like that, because I'm obsessed with drawing dicks on stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like if anything, like if it's on the back of someone's shirt, if it's on a wall, if it's like it's someone's wedding reception book, it's like happy, each ball, one's a groom, the other one's.
So what's your podcast about? What do you want to discuss with me? Just anything, or is this a certain topic, or what?
Well, this is just like a short interview / conversation between two new best friends.
In Ireland.
Well, the first topic I want to ask you about, of course, like it's the latest sort of scandal or news story in the comedy industry is Louis C.K. And Louis, of course, was doing a stand-up comedy routine or test run, whatever you call it. And of course, that's not good enough for certain people. So my question to you would be, what's your take on this sort of controversy that Louis C.K. has caused?
I put a tweet out about it that was pretty basic, what I said, which is just comedians are always going to talk about what they want to talk about. And if we just stop being offended by words, nothing can bother you. So like, unless it's a personal attack on you, like, maybe if I know he did some jokes about school shootings and survivors. I guess if you had a kid that got killed in that school shooting, it could probably upset you. So I guess a lot of people that jump on and are upset, probably their angle is that they're thinking about those other people that had kids in that. But I guess if we even tell the people that are directly involved in the subjects that he's saying, to just don't worry about words. They're just comedians trying to entertain. And unfortunately, I mean, look at this podcast. We've been on for 5 minutes and it's your first question. So, I mean, why do you think a comedian's talking about it? Because it's going to get discussed after he gets done performing. And that's one of the best ways to get noticed in comedy. If you just talk about dog food and things that aren't in the news, it's a lot harder to get traction, and which has made my career kind of difficult because I don't really talk about the news in my stand-up that much. If you even go look on my Twitter, that was one of the most commented things in the last month that I put up on my Twitter feed, and it's just because it had Louis C.K.'s name in it, and it was a big news story. So do the math, Sorry that's what people care about now. If you don't talk about something negative in a controversy, it's very hard to get a lot of people to give a shit about what you're talking about up there.
Louis C.K. has this comedy special called Chewed Up.
Right.
And the opening bit is about how he, like he's joking, obviously, about how he loves to say the N-word and how he loves saying, he's funny, but now it's a problem, and that's what gets to me. I'm not saying it's funny to make funny shots, school kids. I'm just saying that the selective outrage is stupid.
So they're going back. So they went back and found old clips on Louis, and they have a problem with him, or they have problems with a new clip of something he did the other night on stage.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that they're only getting offended by him now because he came out as pulling his dick out. And
Well, yeah, I mean, I do a whole stand-up bit in my latest hour special about how Eddie Murphy, did like that famous like 10-minute bit, and he said the word. It's because it was a long time ago. It was in 1983 he did that bit, and some gay people are offended. But unfortunately, if you're saying things at the time where that's the way people talked, and now you're going to be offended now about something somebody said a long time ago, you're going to be digging up stuff forever, because there's just lots of old stuff that was the way people talked back then, and now we don't. And you could feel bad about you saying it because you realize now people are there. You know what it could be similar to? It's like if you would have said to, like, say someone, like another word they say that no one says anymore is like retarded. What are you, retarded? Like, people used to say retarded just mean like you're being an idiot, you're being retarded. But if someone came up to you after that show, even if it was 25 years ago, and said, my son's retarded and that hurt my feelings, I don't think there's many comedians in that moment that would be like, and we came up to you after it and said, listen, that hurt my feelings, and then the comedian told you to go
I don't know if you heard today, but that other goof, Kevin Hart, is now apparently being rehired to host the. He wouldn't be gay. He wouldn't be forgiven for making fun of gay people. Like, especially these days, do you find that being a comedian in PC times is the toughest job ever?
Yeah, it's pretty hard, but it's only hard if you're hugely famous. If you're not, then you can say a lot of harsher things, and it's got to get really bad for you to get enough attention that it's going to start. If they're going to keep firing you. I said to somebody recently, I said, that's one of the reasons why, and people never think about this, one of the reasons why celebrities make so much is because it's a huge pain in the ass. It's like, why do you think pro athletes make so much? Because it's they're going to have brain damage. So, that's part of celebrity, is it being really annoying, and you got to think about everything you're going to say. Even now, I got to worry about what I say to you, because it's going to come. I don't know where the hell this is going to end up. So what am I going to do? Just start talking to nobody? I'm going to talk to nobody.
But that's actually the next question I was going to ask you. Is it, especially as a comedian, is it tough to do interviews? Because, like,
no, it is. I'm thinking too much right now, and I'm nobody.
No, but it's like if you go on the radio to promote an upcoming gig, you can't go on the radio and be like, so I read a very nice book the other night and had some cookies and went to bed. But if you go on the radio to promote a gig, you've almost got to prepare a set of jokes before.
And what is connected to making people laugh is your brutal honesty. So if I got to think about what I'm saying to every person that's asking me a question, nothing I answer is going to be funny because I'm thinking all the time. You know, it's probably one of the reasons why when you see these viral things where people are saying really honest. To a camera.
Well, that's the thing, is here in Ireland, it's more unique to see video footage of someone sober. so it's like you hear all the stereotypes, and people go, "You can't say it about Irish people," and it's like, I've seen people literally walking down the street in business suits, swigging from like a whiskey bottle. So it's like, it's real,
right?
But I gotta ask you this: the way I came across guys like you and a whole bunch of comedians was through Opie and Anthony, and that sort of crowd of people, you know, the Howard Stern group.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that
I'm not really in that group?
Well, you know, from that,
I was in that group, but I don't think I'm a fit for that group.
But do you think that Opie and Anthony fan base or that group, it had more of a negative effect on people than positive? Because the fans, Opie and Anthony fans, seem to.
I don't know what your question is. What are you asking me?
Sorry, the question is that whole sort of fan base of the O&A.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find them to be like loyal supporters, or do you find them to be more of a pain in the arse than positive?
For me or for other comedians?
Both.
I mean, they're very loyal comedy fans. If you if you fit that style, they love you. They'll come and see you. I mean, I know from when Jim Norton first got on that show, I mean, he had a big fan base real fast. He fit their mold. But if you don't fit their mold, yeah, they could bother you. You know, they can troll you, as all the guys know, all the comedians know. You know, they can they have a good stamina. they like that. Get to a point where it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't bother you anymore. But there's a transition. You get slammed, you get hit hard, and then you're like, what? There's so many different things in life that if it happens all the time, you get used to it, right? We're used to shootings now. You turn on the news and you see a shooting, you're used to it. So it doesn't even faze you. You don't even watch the news story anymore.
Well, I'm from Ireland. We used to see people getting kneecapped in the streets.
Yeah, you're probably just used to it. It's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah, that was the good old days.
Yeah, like back when I grew up, someone was in a fight. Throw her out and start. Yeah.
Jesus, you should do that at your next comedy show. Challenge someone to a flamethrower fight. First of all, see if they can actually pronounce it without stuttering over the words, and then get somebody else to film it. And it's like, these Joe Matarese shows are. But can you do an impression of an Irish guy?
Not really. If I was trying to do an impression of an Irish guy, it would be like Tom Cruise in Far and Away, or my plumber. I have an Irish plumber. He's not really my plumber anymore. When I used to live where my last house, this Irish guy. I mean, the key to doing a voice is I would have to say the country. I'd have to go Ireland, or I would be doing Bono from U2.
Yeah, or Liam Neeson or Conor McGregor.
I can't hear their voices in my head, but I can hear Bono. I don't know why.
Liam Neeson's the best way to do his voice, where he's always going, he makes a list of stuff of why he's a bad guy. And then he ends with why he's a hero, where he goes, I'm a bad man. I threw a cake at a baby's face. I groped a nun's tits. I shouted out the N-word in the middle of a wedding. But I'm the only man who can fix your toilet. But I'm saying, because you can do Tony Soprano, yeah?
Yeah, I can do his voice.
So can you give me a line to do as Tony, and we'll see who's got the better Tony?
Let's see here. Give me a Tony Soprano line. I guess he'd be like, "What the fuck? Why are we doing this stupid podcast that nobody's gonna watch?" And it's gonna end up in some sort of documentary on YouTube. It's gonna end up in a fake documentary on YouTube. That's where it's gonna end up.
Hey, don't worry about it, Joe. It's a dodgy situation.
I like how you put a cigar. You had to like make your hand a cigar.
It's a dodgy situation. Put Goodfellas, Dice, Once Upon a Time in America. Can you do Dice?
Not really.
Regardless of where I am, even if it's a bunch of guys like, hey, I'm fucking having a coffee with the guys over here. Ow! But seeing as you mentioned it there, because we're just coming up to the last few questions here, the YouTube documentaries.
Yes.
Did you happen to catch the newest, or should I say the second one, the sequel?
No.
Do you have you ever actually fully watched the first one, or do you not pay attention to any of that stuff?
I've never watched the whole thing. I've watched little pieces, and like I said, I just kind of avoid things that are. I'm not that. I must have lost a lot of my narcissism, because it's not to the point where I'm like, let's watch some things that are putting me in a weird or bad light. Let's go watch those. Like, you have the choice to not watch it, so don't watch it. It's not going to make me feel good, so I don't watch it. You know?
If you happen to have seen
it's like an actor who did a movie that he knows the script sucked. He probably doesn't watch. He just skips the movie, takes the paycheck, and goes on. So I don't really watch them.
That's called the Bruce Willis method.
Yeah.
But that's but it's like, have you happened to have seen the ones that were made about Anthony Cumia?
No.
And they go deep into Anthony's history and all his controversies, but it's never going to stop me liking Anthony. I think. I want to thank you for your time, and this is the big important question that everything relies on, all your whole career, all your fan base. So get ready. The Spice Girls are back. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
Dude, I'm like 10 years past knowing the Spice Girls. I know that one was the judge when I was on America's Got Talent. She was cool. I like her. The black one.
You like the younger chicks, do you, Joe? Eh?
Now you're on video.
Who's that?
That's Hughezy in Ireland doing
Am I on a podcast?
You just were for half a second.
Say what's up, hey? But anyway, Joe, the correct answer was Baby Spice.
Baby Spice is my favorite Spice Girl.
Exactly. That's the answer to give next time you're asked.
Who was the one that I said that I liked?
Well, Joe, I want to thank you for coming on and giving me your time. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing this in a documentary.
Thank you, Joe Matarese. You met your match when you tried impressions with the King. Up next is Perez Hilton. Here we're talking about R. Kelly, Louis C.K., Demi Lovato, Kevin Hart, the gender gap, wage gap, pay gap in Hollywood, all kinds of stuff. Perez is great. He's a good laugh. Perez, hello. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
You're welcome.
Because you've actually been kind of infamous here in Ireland ever since Celebrity Big Brother.
Awesome.
Okay, so obviously, Perez, you're sort of famous for starting off as being a journalist, but recently you've moved into podcasting, so as well as journalism. So tell me, how are you finding the whole difference between journalism compared to podcasting?
Well, I do many different things, and I think that is, for me, and from what I've observed throughout history, a really important thing if you want to have longevity. I think everybody all over the world knew Joan Rivers, and she did so many different things throughout her career, from stand-up comedy to acting to being a director to being a screenwriter to selling jewelry to fashion commentary, red carpet hosting, and so much more. So as the years have gone on, I have not gotten lazier. In fact, I have been working harder and harder. I now only get about 5 hours of sleep on an average night, and I just do more and more and more. I've got 3 kids. I support my mom. I've got my website. I've got 2 YouTube channels. I go out on auditions to try to do acting things, and I have my own podcast as well. And I love doing it all because I still, 15 years later, love what I do. And I feel so immensely grateful that I am able to make a living and have it be my full-time profession, doing what started off as a hobby. And with the podcast specifically, I thoroughly enjoy it because I have a co-host, and I think he makes me better than, the YouTube videos where I'm just by myself talking about all of this stuff. And it's great to really be able to go in depth on any particular topic in the podcast in a way that podcasting lends itself to that, because every other medium or platform, it's more about like, okay, quick, as quick as possible, and let's move on. But a podcast, I don't even like drinking wine, but a podcast is kind of like drinking wine. You savor it and you let it linger.
Oh yeah. But also, would you agree that podcasting helps people with their communication skills?
No, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, or I wouldn't say I listen to them. I browse a lot of podcasts because I like to know what other people are doing. And there are some really awful podcast hosts out there. Everybody can have a podcast, but not everybody can have a good podcast. I think that you either have that in you or you don't. And clearly, the more you do something, hopefully the better you get at it. So if you're just starting out, you may suck. But if you've been doing your podcast for a while, whomever you are, I'm not talking about you. Hopefully you've improved with time. I like to think that I have, and like my co-host and I, our rapport, the relationship we have, has only gotten better.
Yeah, but I think because I heard you on the Adam Carolla show the other day, and I'm a fan of him, but he has a real habit of stepping all over people. But I thought you held your own really well with Adam Carolla.
Well, thankfully, I don't have guests on my podcast. It's just my co-host and I. So we don't have to worry about that. And it's kind of fun to step on him.
But let me ask you this, Perez. Do you feel like the word celebrity, it's almost become like the new C word? Like it's kind of, when you hear it, it makes you go, ugh.
No, man, I think it's awesome. And I think it's very aspirational for a lot of people. I think it's one of the reasons why Instagram is so popular, because it makes the C word accessible. And so many people can achieve at least Instagram fame by luck or ease, and some through hard work these days. And with that comes a ton of things.
But one of the things that's one of the big celebrity stories at the minute that I'd love to talk to you about is because you're always pretty honest and forthcoming with your opinions and takes on stuff. The R. Kelly thing.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to go into detail about the accusations because we don't want to. They worked with him years after these accusations were already known, but now in 2019 they're playing innocent. So what's your take on that?
Well, I actually just sent out a tweet linking to an article that I wrote on my website, because Celine Dion, who worked with R. Kelly back in, I believe, 1999, and back then, let's give her the benefit of the doubt that she probably even had no idea who R. Kelly was when she worked with him. Celine probably was like, okay, my label says I should do this, let me do it. But somebody like Jay-Z worked with him in the 2000s, and we all knew then. And also, he released 2 joint albums with R. Kelly, not just a song, 2 full albums. And to me, Jay-Z's silence is glaring. But Celine just pulled down the song that she worked with R. Kelly from all streaming platforms, which is also something that Lady Gaga did as well. She's removed her song with R. Kelly from all streaming providers.
Well, that's got to be extra weird for Celine Dion, because there was all those accusations about her and her husband.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the details of when they started dating. I know he was her manager when she was really young, but I'm not sure. I think only the 2 of them know when that turned romantic. But I don't know.
It's a seedy world, and I hope that I just can't believe R. Kelly's been getting along with this for as long as he has. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, somebody sent a tweet to me. Let me read it. This is what somebody just tweeted me earlier today. R. Kelly has been a major issue for years. The fact that this stuff is only being pulled now because of a TV special is very disingenuous. #virtue signal. First of all, I hate that term, virtue signal or virtue signaling. It's just so ridiculously stupid. Secondly, I don't care why justice or karma is being served. What I care about is that it is happening, and better to have happened than not. There are some people that can go through their whole lives buying their way out of justice, silencing accusers by throwing enough money at them, whatever it may be. But thankfully, that does not seem to be the case anymore with R. Kelly.
I'm just glad that and not to come across like a dick, but when his when he tried to claim, say, oh, they're coming after me because I'm a black man. I love the fact that a lot of people just said, no, it's actually because you had sex with kids.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Perez, because you mentioned it earlier on. It's something that you do YouTube, but do you think that YouTube actually does more damage than good?
No, I think YouTube is amazing, and I think that it is one of the other keys to longevity. Things come and go. What's hot is not, and what's not can be hot again. I've been in this industry now, like I said, 15 years. But what YouTube allows is for people to make a real connection with their audience. When you see somebody and you hear them and you know that they're being authentic, that resonates. Because I don't know how sustainable some of these very popular Instagrammers will be. For example, like if you are a girl and you just post hot bikini photos, there are a ton of Instagram girls, hundreds, if not thousands, that post hot bikini photos that have millions of followers. And the guys that follow them may grow tired of them, this, that, the other. But if you're able to become more than just, if you're able to be a three-dimensional human being and your audience sees that, then I think they will grow with you.
But then you get people like that arsehole Logan Paul or whatever, Paul Logan, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's a human being and he's making mistakes. I'm not a fan of his. I don't appreciate him at all. But if he's able to grow and evolve and mature and change over time, then he will have longevity. If he keeps doing the same shtick over and over and over again, then people will stop caring. That's just what happens.
Well, I hope to stop caring very, very fast with him. I'm not a fan of him and his hair and his mouth and all that. Well, good. Maybe, like, to be honest, I'm very much stuck in the past. Like, I'm wearing a Def Leppard t-shirt right now as I'm talking to you, but I just don't see the attraction to it. But let me ask you this: over Christmas, just before Christmas, Demi Lovato, the singer, she went into rehab again for she relapsed with drugs, and there was a photograph of her going around Christmas time, New Year's Eve, where it looked like she was drinking a glass of wine or a champagne or something. Do you think that maybe she was too quick to claim being an addict?
Well, that ended up being apple cider, which is non-alcoholic apple cider. And I wish her well. I mean, I actually spoke about it on my podcast or somewhere that I don't feel very optimistic for Demi this year, but I hope I'm wrong, just because she's been repeatedly clapping back, as they say, on social media against haters. And I think, she should almost get off social media or turn the comments off or just ignore the negative things that people say, because I don't know if that really contributes to her sobriety in any way.
Do you think that there's been a bit of I wouldn't even call it a witch hunt, but it's more like people are taking less shit from comedians these days?
I'm not a huge fan of this new trend of old things that people say coming back to haunt you. Clearly there's also a difference between, well, and the weird thing is that then the line becomes blurred. Like Kevin Hart made a lot of headlines with the Oscars and everything going on there. But he was being criticized for some tweets, which, they just seemed like thoughts. They weren't necessarily jokes, and they were really violent about his son. I mean, personally, society seems to be wanting to correct itself or, fix issues from the past. And if it overcorrects, better than not correcting itself at all, I would say.
What do you think about the kind of outcry against Louis C.K. though?
I think a lot of people have multiple valid arguments against him, especially all of the women that he admitted to exposing himself to without permission. He came back recently and went back to stand up, and a lot of people took issue with the humor that he came back with. It's almost like, he lost it all. He wants to purposely be as offensive as possible. But that's his choice. It's also my choice not to see Louis C.K. perform a stand-up or watch anything he does.
Yeah, for me, I just think it's insane that it's taken this long for like this kind of a backlash to start on him, because not to be like a comedy nerd, but he did this special years ago called Chewed Up, and his opening routine is about how he loves to say the N-word and the homophobic F-word. And the fact that it's taken all this time for now it's a problem, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still going on. There's still tons of issues, and it's probably even worse in some regular folk areas of work.
Oh, big time. But let me ask you this question about Pete Davidson. And by the way, just to say, I think one of the most offensive things Kevin Hart ever did was refer to himself as a comedian. I don't get him either. But the thing about Pete Davidson is, right, so this is a guy who's talking about being depressed and stuff, right? Then we see him out partying at Hollywood at night. Like, do you think that his depression might be for real?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think you would tweet that you don't want to be on this planet anymore if you aren't serious. Apatow, and I'm sure I've seen his work, but I don't follow him as closely as you do.
So that's because you probably have a life and friends.
I've got kids; they keep me real busy.
How many times have you seen Moana?
A few times, yeah. Thankfully, it's still on Netflix.
And thankfully it's actually brilliant, because a lot of the kids' films are absolute shite. But let me ask you a question as well, because this is something that kind of gets to me when they talk about the Hollywood pay gap, the gender pay gap. But then if you look at somebody like Jennifer Lawrence, in nearly everything she's in, she's getting paid the most. So isn't it really just more of a case of having the best agent or the better negotiation skills?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I do believe that some people should get paid more. Like The Rock is getting paid a lot more than Emily Blunt to star in Disney's upcoming Jungle Cruise movie, and I think he deserves that. He's a box office draw in a different way that Emily Blunt is not.
But also, I think she probably made her contract a little early. Like if she'd have made that deal after A Quiet Place, she'd probably be getting the same, because last year The Rock had he had Rampage and Skyscraper come out, and neither of them were giant hits.
Well, Jumanji also came out last year, and that one was a giant hit.
That is very true. I can't believe I forgot about that, because I just watched it the other day, and Jumanji's brilliant.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, about a lot of the pay gap stuff. Like, I do think that there should be equal pay, and I think that me and you should be getting the pay as Oprah Winfrey.
I wish.
Well, Perez, I want to thank you for your time, and we've just come to the final two questions, and these are like the traditional final two questions I ask people.
All right.
So here's the first one. And this one has started arguments almost between guests. So here's the first question. Who's the better band, Queen or the Beatles?
I would say, um, I would say the Beatles, just because they had more hits. So just by sheer volume.
I'm sorry, that's the incorrect answer. The correct answer was Queen.
Well, I would say that Queen was, well, you know what? No, I still stand by that. Queen was very adventurous, but also the Beatles were also very adventurous too. I mean, they had so many albums, and a lot of their albums were very pushing the envelope.
I suppose, but then again, yeah, but I just don't. I just think Freddie Mercury would be the ultimate drinking partner for a night out. Like he just looked like the most fun guy of all time.
He was something.
And just in the final question, Prez, before I let you go back to watching Moana and Jumanji 2. Now, this is the big question, and everything relies on this answer. So, your fan base, your success, the podcast, the website, it could all end if you give the wrong answer to this. So, here we go. The Spice Girls are back. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
It's changed. My favorite Spice Girl used to be Ginger Spice back in the day. But my favorite Spice Girl now, I would say, is Sporty Spice.
Oh, no. You're so close. The correct answer was Baby Spice. Baby Spice is the best.
I do love Emma. I love them all. I'm a Spice boy.
So am I. I was planning. Me and a couple of the guys were planning to go this summer, but we couldn't go because it's happening too close to this Metallica concert we're going to. So we could never make both.
Oh gosh, Metallica or the Spice Girls? I say do both.
No, I can't do two concerts these days. I'm only 34, but on the inside I'm approaching 70. But hey, listen, Perez, thank you so much for doing this, yeah?
My pleasure. Have a good day. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so that's the episode. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's the audio uncut version on iTunes and all your good streaming apps. If you're listening to this, don't forget to check it out on YouTube so you can get to see what kind of t-shirt I was wearing at that time. It's very exciting and my facial hair changes every day. It's usually bye-bye.